Now let's look at what Russia is up to. It's no secret that when it comes to geopolitics, you have camps, East versus West, North versus South, and often this boils down to one thing, the US versus Russia. Washington may look at Beijing as the biggest threat in the world right now, and with good reason, but it has always reserved its worst fire and ire for Moscow. And this plays out even when the two nations miraculously happen to be on the same page, like they are today when it comes to innocent, ordinary Palestinians. Earlier, we told you about Biden and his quote-unquote blunt talks, how he's been trying to get humanitarian aid to Gaza. Turns out Russia is doing the same. Listen in.
According to the order of the President and the government of the Russian Federation, humanitarian aid is being provided to the residents of the Gaza Strip. Aviation of the Russian Emergency Ministry will deliver 27 tons of food products. Humanitarian aid will be handed over to representatives of the Red Crescent Society for delivery to the residents of the Gaza Strip.
There is one party to blame for the current mess, and that is Hamas. As we keep saying, Hamas is not Palestine. Both the US and Russia agree on this. Both powers want to protect the innocent Palestinians. But even here, in a rare moment of consensus, they cannot agree on how to do it. So instead of coming together, Washington and Moscow are now fighting it out. Their latest battleground is the graveyard of the diplomatic process, the United Nations Security Council. Russia wanted to pass a resolution on Monday to bring about a humanitarian ceasefire, a pause in the constant bombardment, so that ordinary Palestinians could flee North Gaza, so that they could go south and receive aid in peace. After all, what good is an aid truck that's been obliterated? But what happened to this Russian resolution? I'm sure you've guessed it. It got shot down. The Russians had a few choice words to share about that.
We believe that today's vote in the Security Council is very demonstrative. It clearly shows who are in favor of a truce to stop indiscriminate bombing and the provision of humanitarian assistance, and who is still in favor of blocking a single common message from the Security Council for purely selfish interests and political interests.
Passing anything through the Security Council is a task. The UNSC has 15 members, United Nations Security Council. There are 15 members. It includes 5 permanent members, the US, the UK, France, China, and Russia. For any resolution to pass, there are several hoops that one must jump. First of all, it needs 9 votes in favor. What happens if no one votes against a resolution? There is no guarantee that it will pass. If you have 8 yes votes and 7 abstentions, your resolution will fail. So you can block something without actually saying no, just abstain. And if you want to get something passed, first get 9 yes votes. That's the first hurdle, 9 yes votes, a hurdle that Russia could not overcome on Monday. Here's what it got: 5 votes in favor, 4 votes against, and 6 abstentions. But not getting enough votes is not the biggest hurdle, really. It's the veto power. The permanent members have it. Only the 5 of them. Reminds you of George Orwell's book Animal Farm. This is one of its famous lines: everyone is equal, but some more equal than others. Nothing quite captures this dire sentiment like the United Nations Security Council. Technically, it has 15 members, but only 5 votes really matter. If 14 members vote yes, but 1 permanent member vetoes it, the resolution gets scrapped. This happened yesterday. Brazil proposed a resolution to help the Palestinian people.
The result of the voting is as follows: 7 votes in favor, 1 vote against, 7 abstentions. The proposed amendment has not been adopted, having failed to obtain the required number of votes.
That 1 vote against was all that mattered. It was a veto by the United States. It killed the resolution.
The United States is disappointed this resolution made no mention of Israel's rights of self-defense.
Russia again had some choice words about this. Listen in.
We have just been witnesses once again of hypocrisy and the double standards of our American colleagues not standing in principle in the Security Council. They really did not want to have any solution found here. It was very obvious as to what their intentions were before us today.
Moscow believes that Washington only wants to solve the crisis on its own terms. There can be no other party that brings about peace. Not Russia, not even a neutral party like Brazil, only the US. Yesterday's theatrics have one takeaway. The UN Security Council is broken. It's a playground for the big powers to settle their scores. Everything else takes a backseat. Until the Security Council is overhauled, the UN will remain paralyzed and people in desperate need of help, like ordinary Palestinians, will continue to suffer.